Hey everyone, my name is Olivia Gilmore. I'm currently a sophomore at Berry College, but this semester I'm studying abroad in the city of Perth, Australia at Murdoch University. I am an animal science major with double minors in biology and chemistry, and back at Berry College I'm also part of the honors program in 𝗟𝗓𝗧'𝗦 Honor Society. Today I'm going to be taking over the AIFS Instagram account to show you a little bit of what I get up to in day-to-day life here in Perth. So I know it's still Sunday night in America, but here in Australia it is Monday morning and I'm about to head off to my first lectures of the day, which is animal anatomy and physiology and veterinary microbiology. And then later today I'll be able to take you into Perth's Central Business District, show you a little bit around the city, and maybe we'll see some kangaroos along the way too. So stay tuned. Also, if you have any questions, be sure to put them in the link up here and I'll be sure to get to them later on today. So one thing Australia is known for are its unique animals that are native just to here. And one of those really unique animals are these pink and white parrots that I see almost every day on my way to class. And another bird that is named to Australia is the magpie. I'm seeing a couple in the trees. I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up. But basically these look like large black crows, and they are known for swooping people in the spring when you get too close to their nest. So yes, even in Australia, the birds attack you. End off my day by coming to decompress by one of my favorite beaches just north of Fremantle. It's called 𝗟𝗘𝗧'𝗦, and the sunsets here are just absolutely incredible, but check it out for yourself. So you can see it's very windy today. Most days in Perth it is pretty windy, but it's also sunny, and now that it's spring, it's starting to warm up a lot, which is great. I would say the best part about being in Perth so far is how close I am to the beach. This was just a 20-minute bus ride from where I live at Murdoch University, so it really is great here. Hey, so I'm going to start answering some of y'all's questions. So the first one is, what has been your favorite thing about Australia so far? And I would definitely have to say, location-wise, probably Rottnest Island. We went there last Saturday on an AIFS sponsored trip, and it was honestly just one of the prettiest places I've ever been to. Like, stunning crystal clear water. You can bike around the island. There's so many unique animals and trees there. They're my favorites. What the island is known for, it's called the 𝗟𝗘𝗧'𝗦. Really just a pretty area. Probably one of my favorite places I've ever been to in the world. Culturally, probably the fact that everyone's just so chill and laid back here. It's a lot more slow-paced culture compared to America. And just the fact that like the cities and public transport here are just so much safer than back home. I take public transport all the time and I don't have any issues, whereas I know back home I would. So that's one thing I really just appreciate about the area here, and the people here are just a lot more friendlier. So I'm taking 3 different classes here in Australia. They're all lab-based classes, so they're each 4 credits each, and they count as basically 12 American credits back home. The first one I'm taking is Introduction to Chemistry, just Chem 140, just the base foundation class for my minor. It's also a prereq for vet school. Probably one of my easier classes, just a lot of math, basic chemistry stuff. The next one I'm taking is Animal Anatomy and Physiology. I really like that class. We do a lot of dissections and stuff. It's definitely pretty hard, a lot of memorization, a lot of things you gotta connect the dots with, but I really enjoy it. And veterinary microbiology is probably my favorite class. We learn probably I've learned over 40 diseases at this point, but I love learning all the diagnostic tests we get to do. It makes me feel like a real vet. It's definitely pretty in-depth as well, probably my hardest class, but I really enjoy it, and it's cool seeing behind the scenes of the lab stuff. So this is a hard question. My roommate back home actually asked me this question. I would have to say for anatomy and physiology is probably my two favorite dissections were dissecting a pregnant cow uterus, and today I dissected a full-on grown pig. That was really cool. I'm not going to go into details to gross y'all out, but I think it's really cool, and it was almost like an autopsy. We had to figure out how the pig died. It was just really cool. Microbiology, probably just all the different bacterial techniques we get to do. We learned how to like culture different types of bacteria onto agar plates. I've seen those they're like petri dishes, and getting to run these different types of tests like sterilization techniques and Bunsen burners and all this stuff just makes me feel like a real scientist or a real vet, getting to do all these different techniques and stuff, which is really cool. Chemistry, we get to do different types of reactions, different chemicals, and that's always cool to see how those turn out. So the weather right now is just absolutely beautiful. Like mid-spring here in Australia, because it is in the southern hemisphere, so I know it's back home, it's always like fall and pumpkins and Halloween and all that. Here it is full-on spring. Everything is in bloom. It's like my favorite time of year, like 70 degrees. It's sunny most of the days. I think it's rained once in the past 3 weeks. Pretty windy as you saw today, but honestly just such a pretty time of year. I love it. So I did not know anyone going into this experience. However, on my flight from Sydney to Perth, by complete random chance, I was seated next to another girl who was doing the same study abroad program as me through AIFS. And she is now one of my good friends. We live in the apartments next to each other. We're both horse girls. We just really bonded just instantly. It was such a cool connection just to make right off the bat. We were also on the same flight from Los Angeles to Sydney, and we had no idea. We saw each other at the gate and just thought, we were like, oh, maybe they might be studying abroad, but who knows. Yeah, we ended up figuring out that, yeah, we're both studying abroad in Perth, the AIFS, and it was just a really cool coincidence that happened. And yeah, now she's one of my good friends, and we do a lot of stuff together, and it's just really cool. So shout out to you, Jenna. So population-wise, Perth is the 4th largest city in Australia. I would say it's a pretty big city. It takes about 30 minutes to get around the city by train and by bus. I think a couple hours, just depending on the route. There's a lot to do here, though, a lot to see. There's different like suburbs and things. Fremantle and 𝗟𝗓𝗧 are probably my two favorites. They're on the coast, and they're just a quick train ride away from Perth. So now I kind of already answered this question with the previous question, but my favorite class by far is veterinary microbiology. It's definitely my hardest class. At this point, I've learned over 50 different diseases, viruses, bacteria, their causes, symptoms, all of that stuff. And fun fact is that different viruses and bacteria cause different symptoms and reactions in different types of animals. So getting to know all of those and all the different species is a lot, but it's also a lot of fun. My lab is also super interesting. We basically get signed off every week. You have to do different skills, so I've learned about 9 different skills at this point, and tests and all this stuff that makes me feel like a real vet or a real scientist, and then being able to interpret those results. My favorite one is probably the 𝗟𝗘𝗧 test, or the enzyme-linked 𝗟𝗓𝗧'𝗦 assay, which none of you probably know what that means, but basically we're testing the different concentration of a virus from a blood sample. Honestly, like original, like authentic Australian food, like Vegemite, don't love it unless it's like diluted maybe with butter or something. It's basically just vegetable preserves. I did try kangaroo jerky. Wasn't as bad as I thought. I don't just like jerky in general, but actually it was like pretty good. People do eat kangaroo here, which is interesting. A lot of the food is very similar to America. There's a lot more Asian influence, I'd say. There's a lot of like Asian fusion restaurants here. They do have their own like what we'd call like fast food chains here that are very similar to ones in America, and of course there's like McDonald's, which I call Mac is here, but it's a lot healthier than you'd find in America. I love their salads and their wraps, but very food-wise, it's like day-to-day meals very similar to America, what you find in the grocery store and stuff. So I have not yet had the chance to really travel outside of Perth, but on Saturday I am going to meet my roommate from back home in Sydney. So shout out to you, Anna. She is actually studying abroad in New Zealand right now, so we're kind of meeting halfway in Sydney for the week, and I know it's going to be a lot of fun. There is, however, a lot to see and do in Western Australia if you do come here and have the chance to explore more. I chose to go to Sydney instead of going on the Northwest trip, but a lot of my friends rented a car and kind of drove up north to Exmouth and Ningaloo Reef and Monkey Mia and all of that. There's a lot to see. The outback and all that is here. Also in Southwest Australia, we got the Pink Lake and Esperance with some really pretty beaches and stuff, so hoping to go down south a little bit later on and kind of explore some more. There's also, I think, one of the longest like jetties and boardwalks in the world down in Busselton that I really want to go see. So there's a lot to see and do here. Okay, this one's kind of hard because there's a lot of really good things about Australian culture that I really like and I wish America would adopt. But honestly, the hardest thing is probably the like things we consider like swear words or just like offensive language in America is not here. So having to like adjust to that and just hearing a lot of things that we would consider rude or like kind of offensive back home just said all the time. Little kids say things like that. That was kind of a hard thing to adjust to. But other than that, like, I love Australian culture. It is just, everyone's super friendly, and just nice and welcoming, and it's been really nice, and I kind of wish America would adopt a little bit more of those things, because I feel like we're, pretty closed off compared to here. So this kind of goes off with the last question, but one big difference I've noticed between American and Australian culture is just, again, like, how laid back everyone is here. Another thing I've noticed is just, like, Australians are like more family oriented and Americans are more like work oriented. Not that either one's worse than the other, it's just like an interesting observation I made. And one good example of this is the fact that everything here closes at like 5 p.m. Grocery stores, clothing stores, the malls, everything here closes at 5 except basically for gas stations and convenience stores. And the more kind of like the reasoning behind that is like everyone can go home and spend time with their family. They don't want people out working late, which I think is really interesting. Kind of hard to adjust to, especially the fact when you like want something late at night and nothing's open, like no restaurants or anything. A few restaurants like fast food is open, but like majority of like sit down restaurants are not open that late. So that was just like a thing to adjust to as well. Okay, this one's gonna be good. So my two favorite Australian slang phrases, the first one is grinning like a shot fox, and that basically means like you're grinning like smugly or slyly, like you've got something up your sleeve. The second one is mad as a cut snake, and that basically means that someone is like very, very angry about something. Some other Australian slang that I have here, we've got arvo is afternoon, thongs are flip-flops. Another thing it's good to know here is that if you want to Australianize something, just add SSIE to something. For example, like 𝗟𝗘𝗧'𝗦 is swimwear, Chrissy is Christmas, prezzies is presents. They also shorten everyone's name here, so like I've been Liv for the past 3 months. Some things, trolley is a shopping cart. Ankle biters are children, which I think is funny, and car park is your parking lot. So here there isn't like a meal plan or anything like that for a dining hall, and that was something I wasn't aware of beforehand, so just good to know before coming here that you will need to budget money for food every week. There is a grocery store on campus, and there's a pretty good food court here, different options. There's like Alabama chicken and wings, just like American food. There's like a burger place, there's an Asian place, there's a pizza place with like authentic Italian pizza and stuff that's really good. I would say the grocery store on campus is like a 5-10 minute walk from Monarch University Village where I live. It is a little bit more expensive than the grocery stores down the street, I think just because of convenience. But those stores, what we call Coles, Woolworths, or Woolies here. There's also Aldi, that's a pretty cheap option. I'd say Coles and Woolworths are like a 5-minute bus ride from Murdoch, and you can even like I walk there sometimes. It's not bad at all. Just something to be aware of, that you will need to budget money for food while you're here. I'll probably answer this question like 100 times now with all the other questions, but honestly, like just combine it all together. I just love Australia. It has just been so cool to study abroad here, just to get to experience a culture that is very similar to America, but it's also different in a lot of ways. And just to get to meet so many people from all around the world, I think that's probably my favorite thing. It really is an international hub here. I've had people in my classes everywhere from Malaysia to Singapore, Ireland, France, Spain, America, South America, Norway, Sweden, where else? Switzerland. Someone lives in the Alps that I met today. So just really cool. All over Poland. I'm trying to think of all the places, South Africa, which is really cool just to meet all these different types of people that I wouldn't get a chance to meet otherwise. So I've actually known since I was in high school that I wanted to study abroad in Australia when I was in college. And what led me to Perth was back in high school, right before COVID actually, when I toured Berry College where I go to school. They mentioned that they had study abroad programs in Australia for pre-vet students, And the city that was in was Perth. And I was thinking like Perth, like where is that? Oh, Western Australia, like that seems really cool. Like for a while I thought I'd study abroad in Sydney, but they just didn't, the classes and all that didn't really add up with vet school prereqs, which is like a really important thing. You need to get your vet school prereqs before you apply to vet school. So that was just really important that the school that I was going to go to matched up with vet prereqs back home, and Murdoch University in Perth fit that narrative the best. And I just like love Australia. I'm so glad I decided to study abroad here. It's a continent and a country. There's so many cool animals. I knew ever since I was a kid that I wanted to come here, and I'm just excited to finally have a childhood dream of mine come true here. So I've been on 3 different AIFS excursions while here in Perth. The first one was the Fremantle prison tour. We did back in August. It was kind of spooky. We did it at night. Our guide was very interesting. The whole prison was very interesting. It was in use up until the 1990s. So there's a lot of like very recent things there. Kind of felt a little bit haunted, not gonna lie, but it was really cool to see an actual prison that was in use since the 1800s. Our second one, we did a wine tasting tour in Swan Valley. That was really pretty. We got a lot of pretty views, a lot of wine, a lot of fun. And the third excursion was, again, like I talked about earlier, 𝗟𝗘𝗧'𝗦 Island, probably my favorite place I've been to so far in Australia. Just a really pretty place, and I'll definitely put in some pictures of all 3 in just a second. I know the day's just getting started for y'all in America, but here in Australia it is pretty late at night and I'm pretty tired from showing y'all around the city all day. But I really hope you all enjoyed my Instagram takeover and got to see a little bit of what life is like here in Perth on a regular basis. Feel free to contact me. My Instagram is linked right here. It's just 𝗟𝗘𝗧'𝗦. If you want to see more about Perth in the future, contact me, have any questions, whatever. Always happy to answer anything that you may have about Perth or Australia or living here, anything like that. But I really enjoyed today. I hope you all enjoyed just a little bit of the content Perth has to offer, and I hope you consider coming here on your study abroad adventure. Thanks so much.